Everyone, so I'm going to talk about technology and innovation, and I think mobile phones are a very good example of that. Today in the world, approximately 3 billion people who have access to mobile telephony, and this number is expected to double more or less in the next 10 years or so. And I think this is the kind of change that we are seeing in society, where technology moves progressively from substitution of the old by the new to diffusion, increasing people using the same technology to transformation. And today, really, you're finding new ways of living and working emerging because of the wide diffusion of mobile phones or other kinds of technologies in general. Now, mobile phones, of course, we have heard stories about how they have created new economic models, helped some people come out of poverty. But I think one of the most important things also out here is enable people to get access to information, because poverty is much more than just financial poverty. It's also the access to information, and it's building of a social network. Today what you're seeing is the whole range of new technologies are coming into place that enable people to connect to each other. And I'm sure most of us out here are members of one or the other social networks, and these social networks have a tremendous power in terms of connecting people and informing people. A lot of these issues have been explored by me and my colleagues in a recent research in which you're looking at how do the vertical organizational structures, as in a sense manifested by the image of a boardroom, come together and merge with the social horizontal structures and value systems as sort of embodied in this throwing sheep concept on Facebook. And perhaps one of the best examples of that really is Obama's victory. And I always think that one of the great achievements was not necessarily defeating McCain, but much more overcoming Hillary Clinton for the nomination Democratic Party. And a lot of that really success was driven by his ability to engage with, to listen to the voters below 30. And clearly, if you look at how leaders use these technologies, they revolve around these few key themes, around branding, around engaging, around learning, around leading. And you can look at each one of these things in more detail and actually see how Obama presents an excellent example of them. I will not use Obama too much, except just to give you some detail, just in terms of numbers, about what he and his campaign did. For example, they placed 3 million personal phone calls. They had 3 million people signed up on the text messaging program. They produced hundreds of thousands of videos, a lot of them produced by users themselves. They fundamentally use technology very effectively to reach out. Even today, as he's starting his new administration, he's really using technology, or at least trying to use it to define a new form of governance. And for example, he's trying to go weekly direct to the public themselves and get his messages across. And this is a very important way in which he is sort of changing the way America is governed. Now, looking at the whole world in general, we are seeing that we had very ambitious Millennium Development Goals of reducing poverty and perhaps eliminating it completely. And I must say that we are fairly far away from those goals even today. So if you look at the history or progress of the last decade, across the world, including the developing and developed economies, the inequality gap between the rich and the poor has increased. There's increased concentration of wealth, even though it's decreased probably in the last few months, but increased concentration of wealth amongst the richest in the world. And a big question really arises in terms of how do we address this? Now, a lot of corporations, I would argue, are not really very well designed and supported to drive innovation, because a lot of them go back to the same old hackneyed ideas. A lot of them are subject to a lot of constraints internally, and fundamentally, the innovation you see coming out of corporations is often extremely poor and ill-suited for the needs of the world today. And we often forget that the world is a very, very big place. There are lots of interesting ideas and lots of interesting people all over the world. And I think one of the challenges which we will face going forward is how do you leverage the collective power of people all over the world? And of course, technology is one way to do it, but the diversity that is inherent in the world is very important. Today, you're seeing interesting solutions emerge, and already in some parts of the world. This is an example of the Jaipur foot in India, where you're able to fit let's say disabled people with prosthetics at a very, very low sort of affordable cost. And this is the result of a grassroots innovation that is possible in India. Now, I think the future really belongs to the young, And I must say that a lot of young people have very interesting ideas. And today I was leading a session about technology and creative leadership, and we had a fantastic group in which we spoke about how the young are going to define the future. And I think they are going to be very important source of innovation for us going forward. Thank you very much.